gosh, this is happening so fast. Let me just get myself set up. Hi, thank you for checking in. I was not expecting for people to be here already, but yay. Hi guys. Just to give you a brief intro of who I am, because it's like, girl, who even are you? So I'm Jess, aka Not Carrie Bradshaw. I'm from Atlanta, East Point to be exact. So I'm based in New York. I've been here for about 7 or 8 years. I moved here initially to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology to get my second degree and to really like break into fashion and just be like that person. So I was super excited about moving to New York, but I also was moving here just to kind of find myself. If you're from Atlanta, you know Atlanta is like this big. It's really easy to be comfortable there, and I just did not feel as challenged as I needed or wanted to. So I moved here for a change, and I got it real hard. So after graduating from FIT, I interned at Oscar de la Renta. I held corporate positions at Burberry and at Coach. And the whole time that I was here, people were like, oh my God, you're like Carrie Bradshaw. Like, oh my God, you're going to find your Mr. Big. And I was just like, are we watching the same show? Did we watch the same movie? Because Carrie Bradshaw's life was not only fictional, it was a fantasy. And also Big was like terrible to her. So I was like, girl, do not put that evil on my life. Absolutely not. No, thank you. So I moved here because I wanted to find myself. I wanted to find a way to be in fashion and to just be like this fashion girl. And I realized like, oh my God, I kind of like hate the fashion industry because the people were not nice. I mean, we all saw Devil Wears Prada, but you always think like, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go in there and I'm just gonna like kill it. They're gonna love me. And people did not like me, honey. And the thing is, I moved to New York being already carrying a lot of emotional baggage. I had struggled with depression most of my life. I mean, like as far back as I can remember, but I didn't always have the words to say I'm depressed, because it's like, you're 9, what are you sad about? But I always struggled with feeling really bad, feeling really unsure of myself, feeling really uncomfortable in a lot of situations, feeling really unworthy. And especially when I started dating, it just got exponentially worse. And so you take a person being depressed and kind of self-medicating with a lot of different relationships and friendships and partying, and like all of my brothers in Atlanta were party promoters, so I got into every party that I wanted to. VIP was not like a hard thing or anything like that, you know, like we was out here living a life, hot girl summer all the time, whoop whoop. However, it was not a fulfilling life, and I just wanted something more. So I moved to New York still having these struggles of depression, and the thing is, if you never actually address what your issues are and the struggles that you're having, you're just going to pick up and carry those problems somewhere else. And as you get older and as life continues to happen and as life gets more complicated, your depression really starts to kick your ass. So I had been in New York for about 4 or 5 years before I finally got into therapy. And I would love to be able to tell you that it was like, I don't know, some fantastical, oh, I found this lady and she like changed my life. No, I got into therapy because I had to. It got to be like a life or death situation. I did not show up to work for like 3 days because I couldn't get out of the bed. And when I finally got to work, one of my really good work friends was like, hey, talk to my lady. And so she referred me to her therapist. And I was always one of those people who was like, oh, if I see a therapist, it has to be a Black lady because only a Black lady is going to understand. I did not have the time to find that. I really didn't. I think that it's okay if you have that boundary that you know 100%, like, I want to see a person who looks like me. I fully get it. I fully understand. But I didn't have that option. I could not wait to find a person who was a woman, a person who was Black, a person who was available, a person who I could afford, a person who took my insurance. It was a lot. So I took this referral from a friend of mine, and to be fair, she is a woman of color. She's South Asian. So she referred me to this 6 feet tall, middle-aged white woman who I have been seeing for the past 3 years, who has really changed my life, honestly. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about how to get the most out of therapy, because I think a lot of us are in a place where we want to get into therapy, or we're new to it, but we don't really know what to expect or how it should feel, what the relationship should feel like. So I felt like this was something that I could give to people who have decided to prioritize their mental health, just to kind of save them from some of the pitfalls that I fell into going into therapy, and just like not really knowing like what to expect, because it's a whole new world. Like, our parents as Black people, our parents weren't going to no damn therapist. Our parents was going to church and to work. I don't know anybody whose parents even now are in therapy, so there was nobody to really like guide us and say to us like, this is how you do this is what you should do. So that's why I'm here today. For everybody who has just joined in, I'm Jess. I'm from Not Carrie Bradshaw. I'm taking over the Ladies Who Brunch Insta Live. I feel like Teddy Riley right now. I definitely tried to pin my Instagram, but it just went as like a comment. So I'm gonna try again. Sorry, y'all. Oh my gosh, somebody said that their first therapy session is tomorrow. Congratulations, I'm excited for you. So let's get started. So first of all, here's what you have to know before you even go into therapy. Your therapist is not your friend. Your therapist is not your pastor. Your therapist is not your life coach. Your therapist is not your judge. Your therapist is there to give you a bird's eye view of what your life looks like based on what you tell them. And based on what you tell them, they're going to help you identify patterns, either thinking or behavioral patterns that no longer serve you. And they're going to help you unlearn those so that you can be your actual self. Not your highest self or your best self, your true self, like who you actually are. As we go through life, we kind of take on, either we're socialized or we're taught all these ways to live, like in these very cookie cutter ways, from like our parents, from our friends, from our family, whoever teaches us all these different ways that you're supposed to live and that you're supposed to exist in the world. As you get older and you start kind of forming who you are, you start to realize some of those thought patterns don't actually apply anymore. And some of them are actually really hindering you. So your therapist is an objective third party who don't know you, has no vested interest in whether you get married and have kids, whether you make a certain amount of money. They don't know you. They don't care about you like that. They're not your friend. They're there to help you and to guide you so that you can eventually get to a place where you can therapize yourself. You're not supposed to be in therapy for 25 years. You're not supposed to be in therapy like every day for 25 years and ain't no changes happening. You might need a new therapist. That's not a thing. They're trying to get you to a place where you can learn what makes you feel good as a person, and you can learn to get to that place when life happens. Life does not stop happening just because you get into therapy. You are not somehow a magical fairy woodland nymph. Like, that's not what therapy is. It's preparing you with the tools that you need to live a fuller life and to not feel like life is especially picking on you or dragging you down or trying to hurt you. That's not what it's about. They're giving you the tools that you need so that you can be a fully functional adult out here in the world, being the bad bitch Trina told you could be, or at least that's me. So the way that I like to think of therapy is 2 examples. Number 1, if you've ever used Google to get anywhere, Google Maps, they're going to give you a set of directions, and then you also have the option to look at things on a map. But you set the destination. You tell Google, I want to go down the street where the Honda cars be at. And Google says, okay, girl, this is how you get there. You can look at that list of directions and say, this doesn't make sense. You can look at the map, and the map helps you to orient yourself so that you have a different viewpoint of where you need to go. Your therapist is that Google map zoomed out to say, this is where you are, this is where you've been, this is where you want to go, this is how we can get there. You still have to drive the car. They're not going to drive the car for you. You're still responsible for yourself. They're just going to guide you. My other example or analogy of what a therapist is like is if you have ever been at a club and you have ever been drunk in the bathroom, there's a strange amount of camaraderie between women in public restrooms, especially at clubs. Like, you just meet your best friend, right? It's not your actual best friend. It's just like a girl who helping you out. Like, maybe you have tissue stuck to the bottom of your shoe. Maybe one of your lashes is dragging. Maybe you tuck your dress into your underwear. You can't see that, though. She can, and she can say, hey, do you maybe want some help? And she can help you get yourself together and send you right back out into the club. You never gonna see that girl again. She not gonna be at your wedding. She not gonna call you. She not gonna text you. You don't know her. She saw that you needed some help. She offered you some, and that's it. That's what therapy is. It's a person who you go to with what your goals are in mind, and they help you to get there based on the information that you give them. A lot of people have this apprehension about therapy where they're like, oh, I don't want to tell nobody my business. It's just, I'm not really trying to tell nobody my business like that. And it's, first of all, girl, what you really have to know, your business is not as scandalous or interesting as you think it is. This is just like, there are 3 people you should not lie to. Do not lie to your lawyer. Do not lie to your therapist. Do not lie to your gynecologist. These are people who you need to tell the truth to. And the thing is, they have seen and heard it all. The world is a very old place. People have been humans for a long time. Humans have been humaning for a long time. And humans have been making trash decisions for a really long time. You're not going to tell your therapist something that they have not heard before, that they probably have not heard before twice that day. You're not as scandalous or as terrible a person as you think you are. And the very things that you probably feel like, I can't tell her that I did that, those are the things you need to tell her the most, or him. Choose whatever kind of therapist you want to. But for me, I have had some hot girl weekends where I was just like, how am I going to tell this to her? I feel like she'll gonna be like, bitch, what are we here for if you're out here making these kinds of decisions? So I go into that session and I say, listen, I'm feeling really vulnerable about some choices that I made. So this is what happened. And she never judges me. She never says, girl, what? You did who? What? That's not what she's there for. She don't know your life like that to be judging you. And she too is a human. She's probably made many of the same messed up choices that you have made, so you don't need to go in there with this apprehension of, I ain't telling nobody my business. Your business isn't that interesting, I promise you. It's not as scandalous as you think it is. So when you go into therapy, have an open mind, have an open heart, be willing to tell them, this is what has happened, this is what I feel, this is what I need help with. It's not nearly as hard as you think it is. And I know that I say that being a person who is an open book. You could ask me a whole lot and I will, to my own detriment, tell you the truth. But at least when you get a therapist who you feel comfortable with, get to a place where you feel like that's at least a safe space for you. I did not like my first therapist. I was like, I feel like you might be trying me and maybe I should pull up. Did not like her. Did not go well. In fact, I tried online therapy first. And I think that that's really good for some people who want a less intimate, like in-person situation. And right now we can't be in person. So whole other thing. But there are some people who really benefit from just typing their messages to their therapist, or even my preferred method is video with my therapist, because it's like I get to be in the privacy of my own safe home on my comfy couch, and I can also see her, but I don't have to take my ass all the way to Queens either, because like it is a hike. Okay, so I think teleconferencing with your therapist right now is amazing, but the really good thing about modern therapy is that it's kind of choose your own adventure. You have a lot of access to a lot more than you probably realize. You have to make the commitment to actually finding it though. So I do like a weekly wellness newsletter to my podcast listeners, my readers, you know, even people who may have like followed my work on Essence or Fashionista or Stylecaster. Like, I always refer them back to my weekly wellness newsletter. So make sure you guys sign up for that so that I can give you access to some of these resources of how you can find a therapist and like how you can make the most of this experience. So I'll go back and recap everything in this week's newsletter. But anyway, back to my point. It's okay if you don't like your first therapist. Think about, what if the first time you tried ice cream, somebody for some god-awful reason gave you like rum raisin? Or like, I personally hate mint chocolate chip. Like, why would you put mint and chocolate together? Gross. If that was the first ice cream that someone gave me, I would think, oh, I hate ice cream. Nope, that's not a thing. There's so many other flavors of ice cream that you can try. You can go to Cold Stone and make your own flavor. That's what therapy is. You do not have to like your first therapist. You don't have to love your first therapist. If it does not feel like a safe space, don't give up on therapy. Give up on that therapist. Okay? Because could you imagine never experiencing like Rocky Road ice cream because the first ice cream that you had was trash? Girl, that's not how life works. If you needed a new dress to go to the function whenever the world opens back up, and you went to like Bloomingdale's, and for some god-awful reason, the girl came and brought you, this happens to me all the time. I think that the service girls just be trying to be nice, and they'll bring me like a 6. Me and you both know I can't fit a 6. I'm not going to completely leave Bloomingdale's like, oh my God, this is the worst store ever. No, I'm going to say, hey girl, can we try like a 10 or a 12? Just bring me the biggest like size that you have, and then I'll just get it altered down. You have more power than you realize to create the kind of experience that you want. Don't give up on therapy just because you did not like your first therapist. Most people don't. If you don't like your second one, it's okay. It should kind of feel like a first date. Y'all are getting to know each other. She may or may not tell you much of her tea. I've been seeing my lady for 3 years. I only recently met her husband because he was coming when I was going. I only recently found out she has a son. She might have other kids that I don't know anything about. But the vibe should be that you feel comfortable saying, this is what I feel. This is what I would like to feel. Can you help me get there? It needs to be a safe space. I can't tell you whether or not you tripping and the person is just doing their job. But what I can tell you is that if you don't feel comfortable, you need to communicate that to your therapist. Talk to your therapist about your therapist. There have been days where I have left a session and been like, I think we might have done more damage. And I will call her or I will text her and I'll be like, hey girl, I'm not feeling it. I feel worse than when I came. Let's go back and touch on some things, you know. And fortunately, I have a therapist. I'm a person who needs a very available therapist. I might be kind of a needy patient, but that's okay because you know what? This is a service and I pay you. It's a service. Make it what you need it to be. So my therapist is super available to me. I can let her know, hey, I'm still not feeling great after this past session. Can we revisit X, Y, and Z? And she's like, you know what? Absolutely. They're not going to take it personally. It's not how like if your nail tech messes up your nail, like the awkwardness of being like, can you fix this? Or like if you get your hair done and you hate your hair and it's really awkward to tell your hairstylist, girl, you might have messed up and my scalp burns. It's not like that. Your therapist is not going to take it personally if you need additional help. If you feel like you're not getting anything back, if you feel like there's no camaraderie here, there's no connection, find someone else. It's okay. Keep going until you find the perfect fit. And I promise you, it's out there. Just like there's a lid for every pot, there's a therapist for every person. I promise you it's out there. Don't give up on it. If you got to try on a couple of pairs of pants till you find one that fits your ass, that's okay. That's normal. That's my life all the time. So just stick with it. So the next thing I want to tell you guys about is one of my favorite things about therapy is that we have these stories that we tell ourselves. We have these stories that we tell ourselves, that we tell our friends, that we tell anyone who we encounter, right? And example, I have heard so many people say, I have trust issues and I have abandonment issues because like my dad left our family, and so like now I really don't know how to open myself up to people, and I feel like I keep missing out on like really great friendships and relationships because I'm like afraid that people are gonna like leave me, and it's all just because like my dad left. And it's like, first of all, this is a Wendy's. Why are you telling us that? It's like, hi, how are you? Hi, I have trust issues. Girl, dial it down. If you have enough sense to identify the source of your problem, you also have the wherewithal to finish the story the way you want to. How long are you going to carry around these same stories or these same explanations or these same crutches for why you aren't living your best life or why you are treating people terribly? I just triggered myself. I dated a guy who every time he would do something to mess up, he would be like, I told you I had my heart broken before and I just ain't been the same since. Sir, this is a Starbucks. What that got to do with what's happening today? It's really okay if something traumatic happened to you that you don't know how to recover from. But if you have the sense, the wherewithal to identify, I have this problem, this is the source of this problem, and you keep telling yourself this story and you keep telling other people this story to explain why you behave poorly, why don't you just take the next step to finish the story and close that chapter and move on to a new place in your life? How long are you going to carry that baggage? That's what Erykah Badu was talking about when she was like, pack light. Don't you... What was the movie The Help? You remember the end of The Help when Viola Davis was like, ain't you tired? Ain't you tired? That's how I feel. Ain't you tired of carrying that around? You don't want to like see somebody and talk to somebody, like get that weight off of you? Like, no, you just want to carry that around and like use that as an excuse to be a terrible person? Cool. You know what that means? I can't fool with you. Move on. That's one of the things that I like about therapy. There are so many stories that I used to tell myself. I will give you one of them. And I know my friends was just like, Jess, please, God, we know. I really thought that, I can like laugh at myself now because I know how ridiculous it is, but I really thought for a very long time that like I was just not a lovable person. Like I thought that in the world, like when God made people, he gave people like a special bone or a special muscle that made them lovable, right? And I felt like I just didn't have that. And so I would be talking to a group of friends who loved me, saying like, I just don't feel like I'm a lovable person. It just feels like love is always just like gonna be so elusive for me. And I would be looking like, read the room. Like, it's a bunch of people right here who love you. And it's like, yeah, but y'all don't count. Why don't those people count? And so I would tell my therapist this, and I would tell my therapist I have this like one friend, right, who was just like so good to me. And I was just like, I don't know what I did to deserve her. And she was like, stop. Do you hear that you're saying that you don't feel that you deserve the kind of love that you feel like you want from a friend? Why wouldn't your friend love you? And I was like, you're making valid points here. That's what I pay you for. Let's pull at that thread. You know, there's a lot of things that we tell ourselves, and it's just your body trying to survive. When things happen that hurt us, our body goes into survival mode. And it's a good thing, but you also have to be aware of what's happening. If your heart has been broken in this really irreparable way and you don't understand why, your brain will tell you, you know, it's probably because, remember that one time that you didn't do your eyebrows right and he probably stopped liking you because your left eyebrow was slightly askew. So like, girl, don't even worry about it. Let's just blame your eyebrow. And it's like, girl, what? Your brain will just try to come up with a story to soothe you, to ease your heart from whatever is causing you trauma. Therapy helps you to stop that dumbass story and to at least end it in a way that you can move on from it and release it so that you can move through life lighter. The other thing that you have to know about therapy is that it's still your responsibility. Your peace, your happiness, your progress is your responsibility. Therapy is a journey. It is a process. You're not going to magically feel better after X amount of sessions. Like if you go in there and you're not going to walk out of your first session like, oh my God, I think I might be Beyonce. I can take on the world and I can do everything. If that happens, bitch, tell me who your therapist is, because that's not even like natural or normal or whatever. It's going to take time before you get to a place where something happens and you don't automatically just like shut down. Because that's how I used to be. I really felt like I was a victim of the world and the world was out to get me. And especially in New York, especially working in the fashion industry, I was just like, who sent this hoe? Like, who sent you? You know, and it didn't dawn on me until getting into therapy that like everybody is on their own timeline. And most of the time when people do things that are hurtful to you, it's not about you. I never had that level of awareness until I got into therapy and started like doing the work. But it's not going to be after a certain amount of time, X amount of sessions, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. You have to commit, because the longer you live, the older you get, the more complicated life gets. The purpose of therapy is to give you the tools that you need to eventually therapize yourself and go out into the world. Remember our analogy about our homegirl in the bathroom? I wish I knew who those girls were who like saved me from going out back into the club with like my dress tucked into my drawers. You know, I don't know those girls. At some point, that's kind of what your therapist should be for you. You shouldn't need to be in therapy for 50 years. At some point, you're going to have to learn how to take the reins yourself. You're going to have to learn how to read the map yourself. You still have to drive the car. So what I like to do, I rely heavily on journaling. I journal before my sessions, I journal in between my sessions, I journal after my sessions, because the way that my mind works, I need to be able to keep up with the last thing that we discussed and like whatever my deliverables were, like how many times did I meditate this week, and like if I didn't meditate, then like why didn't I meditate? Like, why didn't I commit this week? Like, I have to journal every day so that I can remember how good or how bad I'm doing. And it's been really helpful for me to go back and to even look at some things that I wrote like a year ago and be like, who the hell is this? Like, I don't even know this person, you know? But I wasn't even looking to, I didn't have like an end day. I didn't have like a, by this day, I should feel this way. That's not how it works. You have to commit. And you also have to do the things that your therapist suggests. Most of the time, my therapist does some sort of Jedi mind trick where she leads me to an answer on my own. And I'll be like your therapist should always approach everything with an energy of curiosity over conviction. They should never come to you and say like, girl, you are trash. Like, that's not how it should work. And they should discourage you from talking to yourself like that too. But it's mostly leading you to a place where you need to be, right? So if your therapist, I use myself as an example. My therapist always tells me, journal first. Go down your checklist of like when you feel bad, when you feel anxious, when you feel angry. I have like a really bad temper that I have really like gotten in check. You know, I have not been in a fight in years, knock on wood, praise God. But there are times where obviously like I don't feel my best. I have to go down my mental checklist. Did I sleep well last night? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I feel alone? Am I creatively blocked? Do I need to write something? Do I need to record something? Do I need to talk to a friend? All of these things that you can go down. And in that toolbox, in that list, is meditation. And I think my therapist secretly knows when I don't be meditating like I'm supposed to. Like, that she'll be like, so what happened after you took a minute to do some breathing? And I'm like, bitch, you and I both know that I didn't do that, okay? I called you because I panicked. All right? That's what. You still have to be responsible for you. You still have to be responsible for your growth. I live and die for meditation, and I think a lot of people have a funny idea of what meditation is. You do not have to go sit in a field of daisies on a pillow, crisscross applesauce, and like hum something. If that's not your vibe, that's not your vibe. When I meditate, when I do my makeup, I have my everyday makeup routine. This takes a hot between 15 and 20 minutes, depending on whether or not I mess up my cat eye. I gotta start over. Or this eyebrow likes to give me a lot of problems. So between 15 and 20 minutes, I'm solely focused on myself. And so for the longest time, I would be like, I must not like myself unless I put on makeup. It wasn't so much the makeup or the finished look. It was that I took that 15 to 20 minutes at the start of my day just to focus on myself. We prioritize doing so much in our lives. Like whenever something happens, we're just like, oh, I need to do something. I need to do this. I need to do that. A huge part of adulting is knowing when not to do. Like I'm a writer, and if I don't feel inspired to write, I freak out. And I'm like, well, I need to do something to make it happen. And that just makes writer's block even worse. What cures writer's block, what cures feeling anxious or afraid or unbearably depressed is stopping, the stillness. Sometimes you need to prioritize the stillness. Meditation gives you that stillness. It forces you to be present in the now. And I swear to you, when you do it right, sometimes you really do feel high. Like when I first started meditation, I used this app called Headspace. And I'll include that in this week's wellness newsletter, so make sure you guys subscribe. And also follow me at Not Carrie Bradshaw, and you can find where to subscribe to the newsletter on there. Headspace put meditation in a way that I could understand. So they were like, imagine that you're sitting on the side of a highway and you're watching all these cars pass by. So if you've seen a highway, and if you're standing on the side of it and the cars are your thoughts, try not to interact with them. Just let them pass. You would not run into traffic. You wouldn't run into that highway. Nobody said you had to get to the other side. Your only job is to sit on your one side and watch those cars pass. You don't have to interact with the thoughts. And even when you do, you gently bring yourself back. You come back to think about your breath. You feel your heartbeat, you unclench your jaw, you relax your shoulders, and you are just present in the moment. I find that I can do that really, really well when I do my makeup. I don't think about a whole lot, and whatever does come up, I can just gently remove myself from it. Another thing that can help you to meditate too is polishing your own nails. Like right now, these are press-ons, but I have experimented with polishing my own nails. If you polish your own nails and you actually want them to dry, you can't do anything. You just have to sit there. You literally can't do anything. You can't use your hands. Your dexterity, done. You just have to sit there. How long can you just sit with yourself without interacting with your thoughts? It's really hard to do. It's hard to do nothing, but it's a practice, and it's okay if it takes you a while. Like I've been doing it for like a year, and I still will be, in a state of like trying to meditate, and I'll be like, remember that time in 3rd grade when you fell down the stairs? Damn. And it takes you out of it, and then you just get back to it. Another thing is I refuse to pay to get my legs waxed. Listen, a Brazilian costs enough. I'm not doing it. I nair my legs. So what I do when I nair my legs, I just stand there because I can't do anything for the 5 to 8 minutes that it takes for nair to take place to like remove the hair. You can't do anything. So find ways that put you exactly in the moment where you can't do anything. though that little bit of stillness, giving your mind that little bit of a break, giving yourself that time to check in with yourself is so good. It feels so good. I've gotten to the place now where I really don't like guided meditation because I'm like, bitch, I'm on my own wave. I have my own, thing going. I don't really need you to tell me what to do right now. So I really like to listen to certain beats. Or like, I know Jhené Aiko recently has been talking about like these like Tibetan singing bowls that she has. That might be too woo-woo for you, and that's fine, but I know what I like. So I'll include the links to some of the music that I like to listen to just to kind of like vibe out and chill out or whatever. But find things that you can do that just force you to be still. I think a lot of people like to do puzzles. A puzzle might stress me out because I will be like, somebody sent you here to ruin my day. I don't know. I like to color. Oh my God, there are like adult coloring books. I'm gonna be real. I was born in 87. I still like a good old-fashioned Lisa Frank because you can make it as tacky as you want to. Coloring is so soothing. I'm also somebody who's very aesthetically soothed. So I like to look at, and also because I love fashion so much, I love to look at an old-fashioned collection because there's something really peaceful about the cohesiveness of a clothing line. It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel at ease. So just to tap back in, if you guys want to subscribe to the wellness newsletter, you can go to my Instagram page at Not Carrie Bradshaw, and there is a link in my bio where you can subscribe to my wellness newsletter, and I will be sending a recap of this video and giving you like a little toolbox of things that you can do to take care of yourself before, after, during, in between sessions, and like give you guys some of the tips that I've covered. Like if you missed anything or want me to like tap back into anything that I may have missed. Let me check my notes. I feel like an old lady or like a church mother. Another thing that you have to know. Nobody prepared me. When you start therapy, you start to change your relationship with yourself. And that means that your relationship with other people is going to change as well. You will find that it's really hard for you to connect with some people who you once at a point thought that you could not live without. And you may also find yourself connecting with people who you never would have thought that you could or would. And those new people who are on the same wavelength of like your awareness, that's your tribe. To me, I feel like you have your friends and you have your tribe. And if there's a Venn diagram, sometimes you have some that like meet in the middle. But you can start to feel really guilty when you no longer know how to connect with people. Like you start learning all these things in therapy. You start learning about all these different ways that you've come to feel really good about yourself, and you want to bring everybody with you. Like, bitch, guess what I just learned? Did you know about like attachment styles? And girl, here, have you ever heard about a chakra? Girl, and you want to bring everybody along with you. Everybody doesn't want to come. Some people like to stay stuck, as my sis Ashley just said. Some people like to stay stuck where they are. Some people are not ready to advance. Some people just don't want to. Everybody's on their own timeline. You have to respect people's timelines. You have to leave them where they're at sometimes. And you have to be okay with the fact that sometimes you're going to outgrow people. And it can make you feel really guilty. It can make you feel like, oh, do I think I'm better than them? Or, whatever. And they may even come at you crazy, like, oh, we ain't heard from you, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I just been, doing my thing. And sometimes you'll find that in like long-standing relationships or friendships, they may be committed to an older idea of you. And they aren't going to necessarily be accepting of the new person that you are, or your new way of being. Some people are committed to you being a broken vessel of a thing. You can't stay with those people and they can't come with you. If you're going to change your relationship to yourself, you have to understand that your relationship to other people is going to change, and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. Do not go back to people who make you question who you are. Do not go back to people who are not accepting of you. Do not go back to people who only tolerate you and don't celebrate you. I have formed friendships with people in New York where I was just like, is this what it was supposed to feel like the whole time? Nobody has ever just understood that I was like hella sensitive. And, you know, like I have so many friends now who, I mean, literally like hold my hand through certain things, and I just did not have that before. And I have grown closer with some other people who I've known forever, but for whatever reason, it's like our timelines matched up, and that's okay. But you have to know that choosing wellness, choosing therapy, choosing to be on a journey of being your best self means that you have to put yourself first. You have to prioritize yourself. And I think a lot of times, especially as women, we've been socialized to get someone to choose us. We want to be chosen so badly by everybody. You know, you kind of been socialized that like the most important relationship that a woman can have is a relationship with a man, speaking super heteronormatively. But how can you expect for someone to choose you when you have not chosen yourself? You can't go to people carrying all this dead weight and expecting for them to be responsible for your happiness when you have not taken responsibility for your happiness. And I think we kind of think about happiness or peace or joy or just even being content in this very like backwards way, where it's like, oh, I'm going to be really happy once I make like $500,000. You have to be happy before you can get anything else. Something that somebody told me a long time ago is like, God will bless you on credit. I think sometimes we think that if God keeps letting really good things happen in our lives, then that means that like we must be like a really good person and nothing must be wrong with us. And it's not even to say something is like wrong with you. You might just have some shit that you need to work out, which is okay. Everybody got some shit, you know, whatever. But God will bless you on credit, but he's eventually going to collect in that he's going to ask you to look at yourself and see what exactly you're doing to yourself or in your own life that could be holding you back from being who and what he's called you to be. You don't have to believe in God. You can call it the universe, whatever you believe in. That's your vibe. But for me, I think for a really long time, I was just like, romantic love is just never going to be my thing. I'm going to just make peace with everything else. I'm going to just be rich and I'm going to be fine and I'm going to be fabulous and I'm going to be successful. But romantic love is just never going to be a thing for me. And like, that's cool. And God was like, cool story. Cool story. Okay. So he kept putting me in these positions where I finally had to just face, oh, my fear is that I'm not lovable. My core fear is that no one will ever love me in that way. Why do I feel that way? And I feel like when I finally said that to my therapist, she was like, bitch, finally. Like, oh my God, that's what I've been saying. Yeah, hello. So that's what this past year of therapy work has been. It's like, where does that fear come from? How can we resolve these past stories that you've been telling yourself and that you've been telling other people to explain why you are where you are in life? And how can we end those stories? How can we close those books to move on? So whatever like your thing is, I think like on this past episode of Insecure, Lawrence made a really good point where he was like, it's always something. If you're succeeding in love, you're messing up in the career, or if you're messing up in the family, then something else, it's always going to be something. Everybody has like a something that they are really, really having a hard time with. But if you ignore what that thing is, when I tell you God, the universe, whoever is going to come collect on what that fear is, because you cannot thrive in fear. You just can't. You can survive. A lot of us are in survival mode and we just like doing what we got to do to get by, but you're not thriving. You are being beaten down by carrying like so much dead weight of things that you need to face, that you need to address. That's what therapy is for. That's what meditation is for. That's what journaling is for. One thing that I absolutely love that I've learned how to do is when I feel especially terrible, like, you know, I don't know. I imagine like how Kylie Jenner might feel at like a black beauty supply store, just confused and like, why am I here? I make a gratitude list. I list out all of the reasons why I am grateful. Gratitude changes the wavelength of your life in such a fantastical way. Like, it's mind blowing. And I mean, like, I start at the very top and I go to the very bottom. I thank God that I have good edges. I thank God that I have great eyebrows. I thank God that I have breath in my body. I thank God that I have a small waist and a big old booty, and sometimes they do expand, but at least the ratio don't get too crazy. I thank God that I have a job. When you show gratitude for everything that you have in the moment, it can help you to get a little bit further into what you want in the future. But you have to acknowledge the present. You have to acknowledge where you are. You have to acknowledge what you have. You have to show God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I'm grateful for exactly where I am. And I know that there's going to be more for me, but I'm grateful for exactly where I am. And I know it took me a really long time to learn how to actually be happy being single. Like, I'm 32, and I remember when I was in high school, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get married when I'm 25, and I'm gonna have my first baby when I'm 30, and then I might have my second when I'm like 32, because I don't want them to be like two separate in age. I had like all these like grand plans of like what I wanted my life to be, and God just put me on another timeline. He put me on another path, and I had to learn how to be happy single, because this is not a time in our lives as women that we're taught to prioritize. We're taught that like your single life is like a holding room until some man comes and saves you, honey, you know, and you can't be too lippy. You gotta be pretty, and you gotta be quiet, and you gotta sit in the corner, you know, with your ankles crossed. But then when you get with a man, you gotta know how to have sex like a porn star, you know, all those things. And that's what we're taught to prioritize, that until like a man comes and saves you from the land of singledom, then you're not a whole person. You're not a real person. This is a part of your life that don't even really count, girl. You just like breeze through this. Not so. Until I actually started to be thankful for my life as like a single woman. And in my like core group of friends, I'm the only one who's not married. I swear. And it helps to have other like really close friends who are also single, so that you don't feel like you're insane. But I had to learn that like two things can be true at the same time. I can really enjoy and value and make my life full and juicy, as Tracy Ellis Ross puts it, as a single woman. And I can also desire romantic love. But because I'm creating a life that I love so much right now by myself, I'm not so pressed for a man to come and change my life. One thing that I swear by is like, stop letting these dudes embarrass you. Dude can't come and embarrass me anymore, because I value myself so much more than I ever did before. I treat my life with so much more preciousness, I guess, if that's a word, than I did before. So you can't just roll up in here and change my life, because I'm not just waiting for somebody to save me from my like single existence, you know? And I think the more that I have dived into therapy, the more that I have dived into myself and have grown in greater intimacy with myself and with friends who I understand how to operate with them now. That's another thing about therapy, is that it helps you to be much more aware of yourself in relation to your other relationships. Like, the more you accept about yourself, the more you can accept about other people. And I have a friend who, I love her so much. She's the closest thing that I have to a sister, but she has like no empathy. So I had to learn to stop calling her when I'm like in the middle of an emotional breakdown, because I would be like, oh my God, like I can't believe I like let my account overdraft, and like now I don't know how to pay this bill, and it just feels so ashamed. Like, how could I let myself like get in this position? And she'd be like, so do you want me to just like cash app you the money, or what's all this? Because I don't know what you want me to do with all your tears, but if you just want me to loan you the money, we can do that. I had to really like come to accept that, like, oh, everybody can't show up for you in one specific, in like this general way. There's some people that you call for this, and there's some people that you call for this. Like, we all have a different capacity to show up for people and to show up for ourselves and to love other people. And she's just a person who loves through action, through gifts. And she's just like, please don't do this again. So I know that that's not a friend who I can call when I'm in tears and I'm inconsolable, you know? And you have to know that. Like, I have a few friends who, like, tears, they're just like, ooh, don't know what to do with that. Like, can you call me when you figure it out? And then, like, you need like an action plan, and then like I can do something to help you, but I don't know what to do with you right now. That takes a level of awareness that some people never arrive at. And it's like, it's confusing because you look at people and you're like, how can you not see how your behavior affects other people? Everybody does not have awareness. And if for no other reason than to get into therapy, you should get into therapy to learn the ways in which you are probably giving the people in your life hell, unbeknownst to you. And you don't mean no harm, as my grandma would say. You don't mean no harm. You're not trying to be that way, but you kind of suck sometimes, you know? And it's in a way that all of us, like I said, just have some stuff that we need to work through. But people are so unaware sometimes of how their actions hurt other people. And they just will look around like, damn, why don't nobody fool with me no more? And it's like, girl, the call is coming from inside the house. It's you. Like, have you ever watched, I don't know, right now I've been watching like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. And it's just like, why can't anyone see themselves? Like, you can't see that you might be doing something in here. And it's like, you have to be able to hold two truths in your brain at once. On the one hand, yeah, a person does not have to hurt you, and you're not always responsible for the ways that a person hurts you. But if you keep running into the same kinds of people who hurt you in the same way, let's look at who's in the middle of those two things. You know, and it does not make you a horrible person who's just irreparable beyond all belief. No, you have some things you need to work on, and that's what therapy is for. You are not a broken thing. You're just a human thing. And to be human is to be flawed. You know, like, God knew what he was doing when he made us. Low-key, that's how you know he has a sense of humor. He just, like, set things in motion and was like, let's see how this turns out. And you have more control than you realize over how things turn out. Are you willing to take the reins and to stop feeling like a victim and to stop feeling like life is just kicking your ass like I used to, and say, there are things that I can do to live and to feel better? Not perfect, because you have to be able to believe that you are both divine and human at the same time. Sure, you are created in his image, but that doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. That's not even normal. Have you ever met a person who seems happy all the time? It's like, something's not right about her. Is she on drugs? What kind? It's not about being happy all the time. It's about being functional and about knowing how to cope when things don't go the way that you want them to go. So that's my spiel. That's me giving you the wonderful world of therapy. It's life-changing. Like I said, in my wellness newsletter this week, I'm going to be including resources about how you can find a therapist, the specific kind of mental health care professional that you may need. There's all these different apps and stuff for like very specific kinds of mental health. There is a new platform called Blex that really specializes in like sexual wellness specifically for Black people, and it's amazing. I'm so happy about it. They also put together like the subscription service where they send you like all these fun sex toys. But anyway, I'm going to include a lot of different resources and a lot of different tools, a lot of different meditation practices that you guys can refer to. So you can follow me at Not Carrie Bradshaw on Instagram, and there is a link in my bio that will take you to my podcast, my YouTube channel, and also where you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter. So I'll be sending that out tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Stand your ass in the house. Don't be getting your grandma and them sick. Like, don't be that person. The world is on fire right now, but it's okay. We're going to make it through this together, but separate. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you to Ladies Who Brunch for letting me take over your Insta for this little bit of time. So again, follow me at Not Carrie Bradshaw, and I'll be sure to recap all of this in my weekly wellness newsletter, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you all, but in a healthy and consensual way. So bye.